everyone. Welcome back to Hate Read. I'm Em.
And I'm Anna. Every fortnight, one of us challenges the other to read a book that we are sure they will hate. This fortnight, it was my turn to challenge Em to read There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. So, Em, did you finish it?
I did, which you know because I am currently staying at your house.
Yes, I was sitting there next to you as you were reading it.
Yeah, I did finish, and I did not hate it.
Okay.
I
Disappointing.
No, okay, I didn't love it. It wasn't like the best book I've ever read, and there was a lot of stuff that was not great about it, but there was also stuff that was really enjoyable, so I think it kind of balanced out, and it was just kind of
Okay.
a meh book, you know?
Yeah, it was very middle of the road.
Yes.
I think because Stephanie Perkins, she is an author who is most well known for her young adult romance trilogy that begins with Anna and the French Kiss, is so well known for being a romance and fluff writer that this was just a very strange departure for her, and it just didn't hit because maybe she's not experienced writing the genre.
Well, it's interesting actually. I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Morgan, who I mentioned that we were doing this book, and she said, because she's a youth librarian and she follows like 8 million authors on Twitter and, keeps up with all these different authors and whatever. Apparently, Stephanie Perkins is like a really, really big horror fan. And I think that does show. I do think that she is familiar with the genre, but I think it was just because she was kind of trying to blend the two that it didn't really super land.
Yeah, it was a very strange mix of
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
I think.
But I guess we should probably talk about what the hell happened in this book. Uh, so we open up on Haley, who is a drama student, or she's a drama star at this high school in Nebraska, and she's talking to her friend, and they're going back and forth, and she's noticing like this stuff around her house is not in the places it should be. And the scene ends with her seeing this egg timer that she saw earlier somewhere else in the house, and she wakes up and it's like right next to her.
Yes.
And that's the end of the scene. And then the next scene opens and everyone's talking about how she was killed.
Yes. And that's the weird thing, I guess, about this serial killer's motives is that he, or she, I don't want to give anything away, breaks into people's houses and just like moves their stuff around, like leaves cabinet doors open, will like take your car keys and put them somewhere you don't expect. Like, it's a very weird,
which I didn't super get by the end of the book why he or she was doing that.
Yeah, and it was every single one of this person's victims was just like, oh, I must be crazy. Like,
well, the thing is, I think it worked really well in terms of it freaked me out in some of those chapters. I was like, this is a freaky like situation. And I think it worked well as horror, but then when you get to the end of the book, there's not really an explanation for why he does any of that. So again, it's like that works in a slasher film. It doesn't work in this because you tried to give us an explanation for his motives, but that doesn't explain why he's doing this.
Yeah, it doesn't translate well to the page at all. I think that's more of a visual thing. Because I don't know, it's like kind of one of those things you like to notice in the background, like, oh, did you see that thing moved and the characters didn't notice? And I don't know, when it's all kind of like splayed out for you. Like,
I don't know.
And then there was a thing that moved.
I think in the Haley chapter it didn't really work because you didn't know what was going on, but especially we'll get to the chapter where I think there's a couple chapters where I think it did work really well. But because it didn't have an explanation overall, I don't think it worked overall.
Yeah. And speaking of Haley, like, I am super glad that I thought for like a brief moment reading this book she was going to be our main character, and
she is atrocious.
Yeah, she's terrible. She I guess has a secret boyfriend named Jonathan, and no one knows that they're dating, and that never comes back again.
Well, I think Jonathan shows up again because that's the thing.
Jonathan shows
There's a
up.
lot of stuff that gets mentioned by the characters in these
Hmm.
chapters that like pops up later, and it's kind of like an Easter egg, which was kind of fun, I thought, but also didn't
Hmm.
really add anything to anything.
Yeah, but well, so I thought like the secret boyfriend thing was gonna be
Yeah,
a motive because like the only people that knew were Haley and her best friend Brooke, who lives through the whole book, and no one else knows that Haley was dating anyone, and they make a point of like bringing that up several times in the
yeah.
book, but then nothing
Well,
ever comes of it. So I was like, well,
but I mean, you got to throw a few red herrings out there.
I guess
I don't know. I also just felt like you said, when I read this first chapter, I was like, I am not going to like this book because
no.
not only was Haley terrible, but just the premise of a small town theater department that there's a girl who thinks she's gonna make it big. I'm just like, no, you're not. Like, you're everybody thinks that, and it's not gonna happen. And you probably aren't actually that good. You're just good
Yeah,
compared to everybody else there. And
you're good
also,
in your small town, but if you go to New York City
I
to
was very confused by what the fuck is going on in the theater department because last year their production was Peter Pan, and
uh-huh,
they
uh-huh.
like imported harnesses for that and ended up with two of their actors breaking their bones.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
this year it's Sweeney Todd the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, which I have never heard of a high school performing
No,
that.
you would have to cut so much out, like
Right.
especially in small town Nebraska. Like they
Yes.
live in a town of 2,300 people, I
There's
think they said.
no way. There's
There's
no way
no
that
way
they
Sweeney Todd is flying in that community.
there's no way that this director came to the principal of the school and was like, okay, 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 I know my Peter Pan production has ended with two students in traction, but hear me out, hear me out. We're going to do a production next year where half of the cast is murdered and we're going to depict this graphically on stage using corn syrup blood.
Mhm. That's going to splash the audience.
That's going to splash the audience. They go into great detail about this. And also, there's also a lot of rape in this. So that's cool, right? Like we can do this. We can perform this
Yeah.
at a high school. And the principal was like,
NBC.
yeah, it's Nebraska. That sounds like people will enjoy that.
And can I please ask, in small town Nebraska, where their football team is king, what is the budget for the department here? Because I went to school in a fairly wealthy area, and I don't like we wouldn't have been able to afford this at all. Like,
That was my thought too. I'm just like, because I was in theater in high school,
yeah,
and
yeah,
no.
yeah.
No, none of this. So anyway, that was the first chapter, and I had a lot of feelings about it. But then things got
But then she
better.
died, so it was
She
okay.
died, so it was cool. We didn't have to hear any more about this improbable theater
She-
department. Okay, we're introduced to Makani, who is a fairly new student. She moved to Osborne, Nebraska last year, and she is the only person of color in the town,
Apparently, no.
except
Well, her grandma.
her grandma, and
Yeah,
Rodrigo, I think, is Latino.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she talks about how like she stands out a lot because she is not white.
Hmm.
And she has a crush on a boy named Ollie Larson who looks like a skeleton with pink hair.
Yeah, he's very sexy. That is literally how she like. Let's see. This is the description of Ollie that we're first given. Ollie had a skinny frame with hip bones that jutted out in a way that reminded her of sex, and cheekbones so prominent they reminded her of a skull, the illusion of which was enhanced by his blonde, invisible eyebrows. He always wore dark jeans and a plain black t-shirt. A silver ring, a thin hoop in the center of his bottom lip, was his only adornment. He kind of looked like a skeleton. 10 out of 10 would definitely bang.
Yes.
If he was legal, and I was also a teenager.
Ollie has recently dyed his hair pink, and this is a big topic of discussion, along with their classmate getting murdered.
Mm-hmm. The fact that they both warrant the same amount of gossip,
Yeah,
again, is
tells
like,
you something about this small town.
yeah, and how they totally weren't doing Sweeney Todd for their theater production.
Uh,
You know they did Oklahoma 4 years in a row.
They bought the rights for that, and god damn it, they were going to use them.
They're
So Makani has a crush on Ollie. her two friends, Alex and Darby, do not particularly like Ollie. There's a lot of rumors about him that he is involved with drugs, he sleeps around, all sorts of stuff. Makani. See, I keep feeling like I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I think it is Makani.
I think it's Makani.
Okay. Makani hooked up with him over the summer, which we get a whole big flashback about them hooking up, and it's completely irrelevant to the story.
It's a weird thing.
They could have just said they hooked up over the summer. I don't know why we needed that whole thing.
Yeah, well, and which was like, so she went to the grocery store and they were drawn to each other and they had a conversation. And so she went back the next week and just walked up to him and started making out with him. And they did that.
As one does.
Yeah, as one does. And then they did that for a couple more weeks in a row, assumably while he was on the clock.
Probably.
And then culminated in this 5th week in a row of her going to the grocery store on a Wednesday when she knew he would be there, driving away and having sex in a cornfield, and then not talking to each other again for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. So that's the situation with Ollie and Makani. Ollie and Makani as this book opens.
Ollie and Makani.
Oh, yeah. Another one of those.
Yeah.
After the Annie-Danny situation. This one doesn't go as poorly as Annie-Danny, though, so that's
Thank goodness.
Everybody thinks that Haley was probably killed by her dad, or possibly by a boyfriend that no one knows about, or the other 2 theories are that it was Ollie, because he's like the school weirdo, or Alex? No, not
Zachary.
Alex, that's the friend.
Zachary.
Yeah, or Zach, who is, I guess, the school bully?
They call him a burnout,
okay.
I think. Mm-hmm. He was like he failed a grade, and so he's older than everyone, and has a bad home life, and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, he's a burnout.
I'm trying to see when the next murder happens. Pretty quickly, right?
Well, she gets the way that Ollie re-enters her life, I guess we can talk about briefly, is she notices him getting bullied at school, and so kind of like goes to stand by him in defense, and I guess they exchange some heated words, and she says something along the lines of, I don't know why neither of us talked to each other or something for the past few months. He leaves it at that. He, I guess, takes an entire day to think about that and texts her that evening, and I was like, what did you mean about that line where you said how come neither of us, or like, I just had to find it because it's stupid.
He says, what did you mean when you said that?
Yeah. Basically, he didn't realize that he hadn't reached out to her, and she hadn't realized she hadn't reached out to him, and
he assumed that she was embarrassed of him.
Yeah.
And Makani assumed that he was embarrassed of her because Makani has a deep, dark secret that is going to be teased for the majority of this book, and we won't
and not even be a thing.
And doesn't matter at all.
It's so dumb.
And isn't relevant to the plot or any of the relationships in the story.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and this is a big thing throughout the book, is Makani worrying about people finding out her secret. And because of the way it was teased, I very much thought that what her secret was that she was assaulted, or
I thought she was accused of killing someone in some fashion.
Well, my first thought was that because the first teaser thing is after what happened at the beach, her parents couldn't look at her the same way again. So I assumed she had a younger sibling who drowned and she was there. That was my first one. And then it said something about, the misogynistic comments. And I'm like, this is going to be like a Steubenville situation where she was a victim of an assault and then everybody blames her because the football boys got in trouble. Like, that was what I thought it was leading to. Wasn't that at all. Went with a totally different social commentary. And
to be honest, like, I don't understand why she was so...
Yeah.
I didn't understand the whole importance of it anyway. And maybe that's just me because I thought, at that point, I thought everything in this book was really dumb. So I was just like, this is stupid. This is not anything worth mentioning or even reading about. But...
So
we'll talk about it when we get there.
So Ollie and her start texting.
And he found her number, by the way, because his older brother is a police officer, and he looked her up through that system.
which
she's a minor also, like,
which yeah, like
is her cell phone number in the police system?
Don't think it is. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not. You would think I might have some sort of insider knowledge on that with my dad being a police officer, but no, I have no idea.
I get that she was setting Ollie up as another red herring for kind of this part of the book where Ollie acts a little suspiciously. Ollie has access to information that other people don't, this, that, the other. But then when none of that plays out, it just, well, then Ollie really shouldn't have access to that information.
Yeah, like his brother can probably get in a lot of trouble for
right.
what Ollie does and knows based on information that he accesses through his brother, the police officer.
Because essentially his brother just leaves files sitting on the table, and then Ollie can. Which, like, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
But also, here's the thing: when that happened, I thought this was my next theory, was that it was Chris was the murderer, and because
that would have been an interesting twist.
Yeah, because the first couple murders could have been people who had a beef with Ollie. So I thought he was murdering people that had problems with Ollie, and then leaving the files for Ollie to see, to be like, look, I took care of it, without like saying that. I thought that's where it was going.
Yeah. And for those that are keeping their spreadsheets at home, Chris is Ollie's brother.
Yes.
I don't know if we mentioned that, but please notate it and send us the spreadsheet. Thank you.
So they start talking again. Everything's lovely, and they're essentially immediately boyfriend and girlfriend in action. But they spent the entire rest of the book with Makani worrying about whether or not they are boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, like, I think it's pretty safe to say he likes you.
Yeah, like, there's no tension here.
Yeah.
No. You guys are, like, having sex every few chapters.
Every opportunity, yeah.
So, like, it's cool. He likes you. It's fine. He talks about how much he likes you. He talks about how you're so cool and different and whatever. Like, he likes you. It's fine. Stop worrying about it.
Yeah, and this whole, like, quote-unquote tension culminates in the end where she asks some sort of cheesy question like, do you think I could one day be a good girlfriend? And Ollie's like, you have been.
He says, he's listing the things that he likes about her earlier, and he says, because of, she's all conflicted because of the secret that has finally gotten out. And Ollie says, oh, I think you're a good person, you're a good friend and you're a good granddaughter. And then she comes back like 3 chapters later and says, I know you said I'm a good friend and a good granddaughter, but could I be a good girlfriend too? And he's like, you have been.
You have been. Which everyone else who's reading this book is like,
yes, duh. Get it together. What are you talking about?
Which I guess I get, like, at 17, you're still really unsure of yourself, but, like, from everything else Makani has, like, described herself as in this book, it's like she used to be a very confident youth before the
before the incident.
The incident, capital T, capital I.
The next murder happens. And this is the kind of the format that the book takes, is there's several chapters of Makani and her boyfriend drama, and slightly worrying about this murder situation. And then there's a chapter from the perspective of whoever's going to get murdered next, and they get murdered, and then we go back to Makani. So it's like interstitial chapters of murder boys.
Which was kind of cool, except they're like, that was our only introduction, and
for the most part,
our only interaction with those characters that have been murdered. So these are like side characters, people that may have been mentioned once or twice, or sometimes people that haven't even been mentioned at all until their murder chapter. So, like, it would have been cool.
I guess, do you just want to go through the murders and just kind of get at it that way?
Yeah,
Because, I mean, there's really not that much drama. Like, there's not much happening in the Makani chapters aside from her.
Wanting to spend time with Ollie. Her friends being like, no, he could be a murderer, and her being like, he's not a murderer.
I know this because I know this. And then her being like, I have a dark secret, and I don't want anyone to know about it. And I also suspect Ollie might have a dark secret because people have spread rumors about various dark secrets he may have, and I assume that that means that there is a dark secret that he definitely has.
And then his dark secret too. Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right.
So we've got Haley, that's the first one, and then we've got Matt, and Matt is a sports boy, and he's
the all-star sports boy.
All-star sports boy on the football team, and that's the thing, there's a lot of like details with these murders that I'm just like, it doesn't actually end up paying off. Like,
no, like he was the one that bullied Ollie.
Yeah. And Haley
was like saying he was a murderer.
Haley got her throat cut into a smiley face, which I don't know physically how that happens. Like, I don't understand the
I think
where does it fit? I'm craning my neck right now. Like, I guess
I
here?
think it's like, you know where you instinctively make the motion of like you want to kill someone with your finger across your throat? I think that's a smile, and then the X's
are on
must
the other
have been
side of the chin.
I think they must have been just underneath the chin.
Which,
I don't know. They kept calling it like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Dead cartoon face or something, which, whatever.
Okay, so Haley got her throat slit. Matt,
he got his brain scrambled,
right? Yeah.
Yes, because his fear was that concussion movie, basically, starring Will Smith.
Oh, I totally didn't even get that. I was trying to figure out what the brain thing was for the entire book.
Yeah, I was like when you get hit in the head a lot as a football player, you get dumb and stuff.
I was like, is this a Wizard of Oz reference? Is he the brain? I don't understand. Is he the scarecrow?
Yeah, no, he just really was worried about his brain.
Okay,
he didn't want to let his dad down,
so
he died for it. Yeah, so he was stabbed in the abdomen and then scalped. His brains were
scrambled about,
and then his scalp was put back on.
Yeah,
and he was naked in the locker room,
which is a lot.
That is a lot.
Also, isn't he or she doing these murders with just like a little knife?
That was, yeah. I mean, they never said anything about the murder weapon other than that it was just a knife. Like,
right.
I don't know how long it would take, like a butcher knife to cut through a human
skull, right? That seems
probably be a while.
Right. That seems unrealistic, but I also have not tried to cut through any human skulls, so I don't know.
If you have, please write in and let us know so we can immediately block you.
I don't know. They could be a coroner.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But they usually have like bone saws.
Yeah, but they might know if it's feasible to do it with. Okay. I don't know why they would know that.
Please also send your credentials so we don't have to block you then.
Okay, so we've got the two of them, and then we've got Rodrigo,
that was a sad one.
That was it.
Because of
the end.
Because of the end. Because of when you find out who and why.
I mean, I guess, but like, I don't know. Whatever. I didn't care about any of these people. So.
That's also true.
And also, his thing beforehand was that he was essentially a former Gamergate person.
Oh, that's true. He was an asshole. He was definitely like a 4chan troll.
So Rodrigo used to troll people, and he stopped doing that, and he started designing games. Game
I guess, and being rich.
Yeah, and so he was doing well at that, and he got murdered. How did he die?
He was knocked out.
Yeah.
And then his furniture was rearranged.
Right.
And then I want to say something with his hands were cut off.
No, the hands was Caleb.
Oh, his ears were cut off and stuffed into headphones and put back on his head. And then he was playing a video game while he was being murdered. And the killer stayed and played the video game for 5 hours after killing him.
Which, like, that's creepy. But
that's very
also
creepy.
Doesn't really make sense with what we know of the killer by the end of this. Like, why?
Yeah.
What was the point? Like, I don't understand.
They had like a throwaway line of like, well, I had time. No one was going to be home for a while.
Which that's not a good reason to do that.
But, yeah, no.
But whatever. So, Rodrigo, and then that creates more drama between Makani and her friends because Rodrigo was the guy that her friend Alex had a crush on. So there's more drama because Alex thinks that Ollie killed him, and Makani does not think that and continues to have sex with Ollie.
And stay at his house and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So is Makani after that?
I think, So Makani's attempted murder is the next one. And the reason she and Ollie had snuck back to her house to have sex, and sometime in their post-coital bliss, she went down for a drink of water, and that's when the killer attacked, but she was able to fend him off with the help of a naked Ollie and her grandmother, who happened to walk in at the very either right or wrong time, depending on how you feel about this whole situation.
Did get stabbed.
Mm-hmm. So so grandma takes the shot in the abdomen from the knife, and Makani gets a slash on her arm, but is otherwise totally fine. They have to go to the hospital, and I don't know if we mentioned, she has to live with her grandmother because her parents don't want her around anymore, because I guess her mother's a narcissist and her dad's an asshole.
Well, they're getting a divorce, so they're saying that it's to deal with a divorce, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because of this terrible incident is what we're being led to believe.
Yeah, like her parents are ashamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just her and grandma.
That all happens, and
then it is Caleb, I think. No, okay,
well, and
then
we
they
have
know
to say,
the identity of... Yes. Which, this is like halfway through the book.
Yes. Which, here's the thing though, that's fine in a slasher, because it's like, that's not the point, isn't who is the killer, because who cares? The point is watching teenagers get killed. Like, that's the point of slasher films.
Yeah.
Which, speaks to a lot of weird psychological reasons as to why people enjoy slasher films. There's like a theory that it's like because slasher and horror films are like body genre, where you have this, you're able to feel the fear of the victims in a safe way. So like you connect to the victims, and you like feel the body responses, so like adrenaline and things like that. But then also there's another theory that people like slasher films because it's like sadistic and you like watching people die. So I don't know where people come down on that, but could be one or the other. Could be both.
Yeah,
could be a combination of a lot of things. But yeah, so I didn't have a problem with knowing who the killer was halfway through the book, because I was like, it doesn't matter. That's not why we're reading this book.
I guess for me, we find out who it is, and it's a boy named David, who is Rodrigo's best friend, supposedly, before he killed the guy. And it's just like this nerdy gamer guy that hangs out at their school. He was in like, I don't know, 1 or 2 scenes before this. One in which he makes like very suggestive comments to Makani about her and Ollie's relationship.
Oh yeah, I was like, I thought that was Rodrigo, but no.
I think he said something, and then David like backed him up. Yeah, and then another scene where they're talking about the killer, and David is kind of like interested in what they think about it all. But really, he's had like maybe 3 lines of dialogue in the book at this point, and then it turns out he's the killer. I guess for me, that was kind of just like
right. Well, because I think we don't really see many slasher books. We see more mystery books. So if like you go into it and you're expecting like a mystery novel, it's very disappointing to halfway through have the reveal. But I don't think she ever intended to write a mystery novel. I think it was supposed to be a slasher film, but as a book.
But like, I kind of just wish we had more time with him before.
Yeah.
Because it kind of, like, they reveal it, and I'm just like, well, that's just like another throwaway character, just like all these characters.
Other characters and throwaway characters. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It was just kind of a lame, like, oh, okay, that guy.
Yeah. But so we know who he is, and so the police are out looking for him, that. Again, a lot of Makani chapters with her dealing with her grandmother being in the hospital, and dealing with her relationship and whatever. And
her friends coming and be like, we're so sorry we blamed Ollie.
Yes. And it's before the next killing that her secret is revealed, right? Because they go to help Zach.
Yes. Yeah. They go to, because they think, so they come up with this theory that the killer, David, is targeting people who were the heads of their cliques, basically. So Haley was the all-star of the theater department and the quarterback of the football team. Rodrigo was the smartest of the smarty smarts, and Makani was black.
Right, so that's the first theory, and that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
And then they come up with the next theory. Makani, I think, comes up with the theory that because Rodrigo, they find out that he was a former internet troll. So Makani comes up with the theory that it's all bullies or people who did terrible things. So Matt used to bully kids around the school. Rodrigo was a troll. I don't know if they actually come up with one for Haley.
They just assume
she's
secret.
A bitch. And then they're like, oh, well, all of her friends are like, oh, well, if that's what you think, then obviously what did you do? And she's like, oh, it is time to reveal my dark past.
Ugh.
And
so dumb.
It's very dumb. So her dark story is that she was on the swim team and they did a hazing and she was being hazed
and it was kind of like that to me was the biggest crime, was the hazing and
yes,
everything that involved, not what she did.
Which gets very graphic in the description of all of the terrible things that they do during this hazing. But part of it also involves forcing these hazees to drink whenever they fail to comply with the rules of the hazing. And then her best friend Jasmine is also on the swim team. All of the parents know about this. All of the other girls' parents warned them it was coming so they could wear cute swimsuits and whatever, whereas Makani's mom, because she's a narcissist, did not. So she gets dragged out of bed in like her underwear and she's very upset about it, and she realizes Jasmine didn't tell her that this was coming. So she's mad at Jasmine. They're going through this whole hazing. Makani grabs a knife that someone had for opening cans and slices Jasmine's hair off.
Yeah, like a ponytail. Just makes it shorter.
She does the Mulan thing.
Yes.
And chops straight through her hair. And Jasmine gets very upset about having her hair cut off and drunkenly runs. They're on the beach. So
because they also squirted Tabasco sauce in their eyes.
Yes.
Excuse me, what?
What? Right. Like, why does nobody ever address that? So,
yeah.
So Jasmine, in an enraged / upset / Tabasco
blind
situation.
Stupor, I don't know.
Stupor, yeah. She charges off into the ocean to get the Tabasco sauce out of her eyes, why
are you gonna flush your eyes out with salt water?
That's
dumb
stupid,
girl.
but she's also drunk, so like,
That's true.
And because she's drunk, she nearly drowns. So but she doesn't. Everything's fine. One of the other girls pulls her out of the water. The cops show up. They arrest Makani.
Charge her with assault.
Because she had the knife on her still, which, like, why are you still or the ponytail? She was holding
she had
one
both.
or the other.
She had both.
Like, so she's just standing there for like 20 minutes while the cops show up with a ponytail and a knife. Like, what are you doing? Put one of those down.
Why didn't you throw the hair in the fire?
Right.
Because that would have smelled bad.
It would have.
But still, like, there's a lot of time.
Yeah, so she gets arrested for assault, and then everyone just kind of assumes that she was the ringleader, which makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, because 1, she was the victim of the hazing as well. 2, I don't know, was it just like all the girls on the swim team just got together and were like, yeah, we'll blame that girl for everything that happened?
Well, I think it was just because she was arrested, because I think she was the only one who was actually arrested that night. But
they were all drunk in there. Why wouldn't the police take all of them
I don't know. It
didn't make sense.
It didn't. But
so she gets expelled or suspended. She gets suspended for 30 days.
And then she is forced to pay restitutions to Jasmine.
Which is just the cost of
a haircut. Which I'm like,
which I'd be like, bitch, you're going to Great Clips. Here's a coupon.
How much does that cost? Even if it's a nice haircut.
Like, this
isn't gonna break the bank, Makani. Like,
no. So, like, okay, it's Hawaii, and I can see maybe, like, this girl wants to go to the best salon. So, like, 100, 150.
Right.
Would be where I would top out at. Like, that's not...
But they make such
an insurmountable amount, even for a teenager. And so I guess, like, eventually the parents who provided the alcohol were charged with something, and she has a trial, but her attorney gets her off and makes some sort of blanket statement that kids will be kids and she doesn't deserve to be punished for her whole life, which incites a ton more, like, public shaming and ridicule and harassment towards this girl, so she just gets shipped off to Oklahoma, and that's her deepest, darkest secret.
Right. Not Oklahoma. Nebraska.
Oh, Nebraska, my bad, sorry.
which I'm okay. There's a lot going on in this section. Like, there's this social commentary on how hazing is bad, which everybody knows
Yeah,
hazing is
which
bad.
it is. It's awful.
It is terrible. But there's also this thing about not judging people for situations that you don't know about, I guess, because all these people judge Makani without knowing the whole story, and
Yeah.
she suffers great psychological damage from that because she ends up blaming herself like very deeply for this thing that happened. And it's like, no, you were drunk and did something stupid. But at the same time, the way it's phrased with the whole, oh, the DA said that kids will be kids, and then people jumped on it. I'm like, are you saying we shouldn't blame? Because I feel like the way that that phrase is most often used is in sexual assault cases.
Yeah, boys will
Like,
be boys.
right,
Not to overgeneralize, but that is how it
right,
is used most often.
right. That was the immediate
Yeah.
thing that my mind was drawn to. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable saying that we shouldn't blame. I don't know. I don't know. It just seemed, it was a lot.
Yeah, and I guess, like, the other thing, too, I don't understand about this is Makani's instant and total rage towards her friend Jasmine because of
Yes.
what she deemed as a betrayal. So I guess what we were supposed to take away as a reader is that Makani had a lot of angst and emotions about the fact that Jasmine had a good mom and Makani's mom sucked. We don't. There wasn't enough done there for it to be.
And there
wasn't
enough,
a big enough transgression.
There wasn't enough of her mom also for at this point for us to be like, yeah, her mom is terrible and Jasmine should have known that. You know?
Yeah, there wasn't much, like, even after this fact, there wasn't a lot of interaction between, like, scenes where we could understand, like, okay, Makani is suffering some abuse. It was more just like, my mom doesn't call. Right. I don't call my mom. Right. That's basically the gist of it.
Her grandmother calls her mom a narcissist at one point. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, there wasn't enough reason for her to go off on Jasmine like that, and there wasn't enough reason for the rest of the world to go off on Makani like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she does feel very sorry and guilty about the whole thing.
Which, you know, it is kind of a shitty thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
Cut off a girl's hair while you're drunk.
But I mean, like,
that's not.
I don't think it is at the, like, obviously people get drunk and do dumb things, and there are dumb things that are so terrible that you cannot be forgiven for them. And there's dumb things that are just like, yeah, that was dumb, but we'll get over it. I feel like cutting someone's hair off is kind of in the middle.
Yeah,
like it's worse than, like, I've gotten drunk and slapped friends before.
and splashed water
on people. Which, like, is not great, but also, you know, isn't ending any friendships.
It's a goofy thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think chopping off someone's hair is a little bit more of a transgression, but also...
Oh, yeah, we wouldn't be laughing about it for a long while, that's for sure.
But also, it is just hair.
It will
grow back. And you're fine. Like...
Yeah, the entire near-death experience was her stupid butt running into the ocean because her eyes hurt. Like,
right.
That was entirely on her. Yeah. Nothing to do with Makani.
Hashtag Makani did no wrong.
Hashtag Makani did nothing wrong. I still don't like Makani, but she didn't Makani did nothing wrong.
She didn't do enough wrong for this to be as big of a deep, dark secret as it was.
Yes, like, I was really expecting something more. Like,
someone should have died.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be, like, there, because they tease on the back, like, oh, her past is catching up to her. So
but
obviously your mind is going to immediately go, like, oh, were there serial killings where she was as well? Did she used to be a victim of this, or did people think she was a serial killer? Or was she a serial killer? So to have this be the secret is just like another, just like the reveal of the killer, it's just like, oh,
a little bit of a letdown.
Anyway.
So they decide that Makani's theory about the killer targeting bullies is probably right, so they decide to go after Zach, or they think that he will go after Zach, the other outcasty burnout guy in their school. So they rush to the center of town to warn Zach, because, like, they tell the police, and the police call his family, and they say he's at home, but then someone else... He's not. Someone else saw him down at the memorial.
Yes, they're having a memorial for all the students' deaths involving like a rally with the marching band, and they wanted Makani to give a speech as a survivor, but her grandma was like, oh, hell no. And the mayor is there making all these like grandiose statements like, we're gonna go, the football team's going to the playoffs and they're gonna win, and we will probably still do that musical even though 3 people have died.
No, they do cancel the musical because the musical kids go to the hay thing instead.
Oh, that's right. The corn.
They go to work at the corn maze, which they turn into a haunted corn maze because that's a great idea in a town full of murders.
Yeah, and of course, like, so I guess this is like one of those tourist trap corn mazes that are humongous, like miles and miles of corn maze, and it pops up every year, and they are, of course, even more popular this year than they had been in the past because of the hoopla about these murders. But people are coming to the corn maze dressed as the way the serial killer is dressed in like the last photo of him that they have. Like, what?
Yeah.
Are you really that tasteless that you're gonna do that?
And not even tasteless, but just like, he's still at large. That's not a good idea.
You might get arrested.
Don't run around in a blood-stained camo jacket wielding a knife.
Even if it's rubber.
In a town where multiple children have been murdered by a man or a teenager in a blood-stained camo jacket wielding a knife.
2 days before.
Right. Bad idea. So anyway,
that is the definition of too soon.
So at the memorial, they catch up to Zach, and he says the whole conversation with him is irrelevant to everything.
Because it wasn't him. He wasn't the victim.
It wasn't him. It was this boy who was in the band, Caleb.
He was the first chair trumpet, and his family like kind of owns the town. The Greeleys, one of the brothers owns the grocery store, and the other is like the pastor of the church.
Yes.
So he's kind of like small town royalty.
Yeah. He's also very religious, and David, the killer, lures him to the general store that his father owns, kills him, and chops his hands off, and places them in like a prayer motion over his heart.
Which, like, did you have to chop them off to do that?
Yeah,
that seems... You just moved his arms?
Right. Like, you're making this way more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But Makani and the gang stumble across this situation and report it to the police.
Makani and Ollie were making out at the grocery store.
Oh, yeah. So
and they see the blood.
They see the blood on the inside of the window, and they see movement, and then they find Caleb, and Caleb is dead, and they're like, oh, shit. David's still around, but he zips on out of there.
Yeah.
And who's next?
Katie.
Oh, yeah, Katie. So Katie is also at the memorial. She's
just real nice.
She's so nice. She's the nicest person.
She's the Stuco president, the student council president, because she's so nice and everyone loves her. She's so nice.
And she has to leave early from the memorial to go babysit her 2 twin siblings who she babysits while her mom works late shifts, and Katie takes care of cleaning the house and cares for the children and does everything around everything. And so it's another chapter from her perspective, and she sees stuff that's been moved around, and she's like, oh no, maybe mom was cleaning, I don't know. And then she gets murdered.
Well, she does make an attempt to call the police.
Yes.
But as is the problem in all horror movies, her phone would not connect to any cell phone towers.
Right. And how does she... Do we get what happens to her? Oh, he cuts out her heart and puts it on her college apps.
Yes, because she had her heart set on going to college out of state.
Because David is the most extra serial killer on the planet.
Well, he does mention he was rushed at that point because of Makani surviving. He was very upset about that.
He's like, gotta move it along.
Yeah.
So he kills Katie, and then who's the next one? The horse girl?
Yeah, horse girl, Rosemary.
Oh, so at this point, because Katie gets killed, Makani realizes that, well, they all realize that it can't be bullies because Katie's the nicest human being to ever exist. They're like, oh, I guess it's something else. I guess
it's something that's making the killer feel inferior to them.
Yes.
And so they're like, maybe it's people who have achieved a lot or stand out in some other way.
So they go with that theory, and they're like, it's Rosemarie, the horse girl, who is good at horsing. And
she did some barrel thing.
And they announced it at school, so it's definitely her.
And Ollie made that awful joke that she was going to die.
Yeah, and then turns out, yeah. So Ollie, they think about calling the police, but they're like, oh, they won't trust us after the mix-up with Zach. So they go tearing across the countryside to get to Rosemarie's house. They stumble upon her just as she's about to be killed by... She's gotten in a fight with David. She's pitchforked him a little bit.
She put up a good fight. Yeah. She wasn't going down.
Yeah, she was like, no, hell no. A chase ensues. At some point,
where Alex, they enter the corn maze.
Yeah, Alex gets killed first, I think, right?
Yes, so Rosemarie lives, her horse stable like butts up against the corn maze, and there is a scuffle there at the stables before they escape into the corn, and for some reason, like to me, it read as if they all just like jumped on each other and started wrestling.
Which like isn't an effective way to handle
all five of these teenagers. And they all get up, but one is like basically decapitated. Alex had her throat slit so bad that her head was like a hinge.
Which, I mean, I guess is sad because she's been one of the more main characters, but also I didn't care about Alex at all.
Yeah, no.
So, oh well. The rest of them all go tearing off through the corn maze. Chase ensues. Various scuffles ensue. He kind of maybe
hilarious mix-ups.
Yeah. He maybe kills Ollie. He maybe kills Darby, the other friend who we haven't even talked about at this point, but he's the other friend in the group. And Makani chases after him, finds him on the ground. Maybe
no. He chases her into a corn. What did they call it? The corn crib? Aren't those what those are called?
The corn pit?
Yeah, like a corn pit or a corn crib, which is essentially, for those of us that aren't from the Midwest or live in that kind of life, it's basically like a giant pit filled with unpopped corn kernels, like you would have like a ball pit for children, except for it's corn instead. And so Makani gets this great scene where she pretends to swim through it, because remember, guys, she used to be a swimmer. So she pretends to swim through it.
You are describing this to me right now, and this is literally the first I've heard of this scene, because I was so checked out of the book at this point. I don't remember this at all, and I read this an hour ago.
And he jumps in after her or something. I don't know. They have a scuffle in the corn pit, and he drops the knife. She reaches for it, and he goes, "You don't have the guts." And she goes, "If I don't kill him, he'll kill someone." And so she kills him. Which, totally unfazed by this, though.
Yeah, it doesn't have any effect.
But I guess after that traumatic incident,
right, with the hair cutting, she can do anything.
What could faze her?
She can cut a bitch's hair. She can definitely murder someone. Same level of moral culpability.
I think the reason she's able, the knife flies out of his hand is because Darby makes a miraculous recovery and tackles him.
Yes, so Darby's fine. David. Darby's not dead. And Makani kills David and is kind of in a state of shock, and then hears Chris, the brother of Ollie, who is the police officer, is on the scene, and he gets a thing on his walkie-talkie that's like, "Oh, Ollie's alive." So she runs off to go meet up with Ollie, at which point we get the great "I can be your girlfriend" thing, I think, right? And
I think so. And the book literally ends there.
And that's it. That's the end of the book.
Yeah, she's like holding his head in her lap and kissing him, and the book ends.
Yay.
So it was all just so mediocre.
It was all very mediocre. It was fine. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but I wouldn't read it again.
Yeah, and I mean, I really enjoyed, like, I loved Anna and the French Kiss.
Yes.
And Lola and the Girl Next Door, or Boy Next Door. Lola and the Boy Next Door, and the third one was Isla and...
The Happily Ever After.
Yeah, I hated that one. I thought Isla and Josh were the fucking worst.
Isla and
but
Happily Ever After I was indifferent towards, much as I am indifferent towards this book. But I did like Makani and Ollie in general, I think.
I think it would have been a cute romance.
And again, I liked the chapters of the killer is inside the house and moving stuff around, and I'm kind of paranoid about it, and I'm noticing, I liked all of that. I just wanted either all of one or all of the other. I didn't need them to be together.
Yeah.
It was not a chocolate and peanut butter situation.
You reminded me. We didn't talk about what the motive was for the killer.
Yeah.
So
let me see if I can find it real quick.
It got shoehorned in at the end, and everyone was just like, "What?"
He says, "You'll be here forever, and I get to leave." So he's been killing people who he thinks are going to be able to leave the town of Osborne because they are talented or have money or have brains or drive, or in Makani's case, because she's not from there, so he assumes she will eventually go back to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So he's doing all of this because he feels he's not talented enough to leave, so he's going to be really good at killing, so they'll send him to prison.
And to a maximum security prison 2.5 hours away.
Right. Like, what?
That was his goal.
What? It
was so shoehorned in. It was so stupid.
Why was he moving stuff around the house? Why was he psychologically tormenting people? Yes. Why did you need to do that in order to be sent to prison? Why did you need to kill more than one person? Just kill one person if that's your goal.
Yeah, you don't need to go on this streak.
Did you think they wouldn't send you to prison if you just killed Haley? Like, what was the deal? Why did you have to kill everybody else? There was no reason.
Yeah, because I think, Makani even says something like, "Oh, you were doing it for the fame," and he was like, "No.
No, I was doing it to be sent to prison."
Yeah.
As one does.
What? Okay.
What are you talking about? Yeah, that was incredibly stupid.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's such a dumb motive that he has to be insane. But he's, and I mean insane
so
in a clinical sense.
That. Yeah, so just play on that.
Why are you doing all of this?
Yes.
His actions make too much sense for it to be just he's on a psychotic break. But they don't make sense in regards to this motive.
Yeah.
Why are you sitting around playing video games for 5 hours? That's something after you've murdered someone, after you've murdered your friend sitting next to you.
Yeah, your best friend. And also, why didn't you just, why, if you only wanted to go 2.5 hours away, why didn't you just hop in your fucking U-Haul and move 2.5 hours away?
At one point during his crime spree, he hitchhikes out of town. They have footage of him hitchhiking out of town.
Yes!
Just go!
Just stay there then. Just you did it. You did it, David.
You could have done this ages ago.
You could have killed 3 less people.
It would have been fine.
You would have gotten away with it. They were never going to have found you.
Also, can we talk about how busy must he have been? Because
all he did was live in these people's houses and move their stuff around.
Because the people who Makani, she's been having the cabinets in her house open when no one's home for weeks.
Yes, because she thinks her grandmother is sleepwalking. And her grandmother even goes to see a specialist about her sleepwalking problems.
So he's been doing this for ages, and he's doing this simultaneously to 8 different people, right? I mean,
yeah.
At least Haley, Rodrigo, and Matt he's been messing with for a significant amount of time. I assume he's been messing with the others in some way too. When does he sleep? When does he go home? How has no one noticed that he's absent from school all the times he's fucking at Makani's house fucking with her shit?
Yes.
It didn't make sense.
It didn't make any sense.
It didn't make sense.
The logistics of this crime spree.
They
don't add up. They don't add up.
I don't get it. I don't understand. Oh, also, what was with the petting zoo?
Which petting zoo?
So, in this corn maze thing, they're they have an advertisement for it at some point. And it's oh, there's a petting zoo, and they kind of talk about it. And then when she is running through the corn maze, and they end up at the thoroughfare of this corn maze plus other stuff place. And it says that she raced past the live enclosures. Pygmy goats, a hunched zebra, scraggly coyotes. What petting zoo is this?
I was with you until coyotes.
I was with you until zebra.
Well,
what
okay.
petting zoo in Nebraska has a zebra? And this is a part-time thing. What are they doing with the zebra the rest of the year?
Well, aren't you just a city slicker? We have been to several events here in our small town in Illinois where there was a zebra present at the petting zoo.
What?
Yes, I have pictures.
Okay, I thought that was a made-up thing. But...
No, and the zebra's name was the White Stripes. They also, okay, so we went to this, it was an event at one of those, like, kind of like mom and pop pet supply stores. And they had been advertising on billboards and stuff for like months, like Kit Harington is coming to town. And we were like, well, we know it's not Jon Snow Kit Harington. We know it has to be some other, like, just a coincidence they have the same name.
Was it?
Well,
hold on, let me guess.
Okay.
Was it either a rabbit or some sort of cat named Kit Harington?
You're very close. You're very close. As the date of the event got closer, the billboards changed a little. Kit Harington is a skunk.
Why?
They also had I don't know, I guess to generate buzz about the event. I mean, we definitely went, and I definitely met Kit Harington the skunk, as well as Benicio del Toro the bull, and I want to say
make sense.
Tony Hawk the turtle. I think it was a turtle or some sort of reptile or lizard. I don't remember. It's just the name stuck out to me.
What? Okay. White Stripes, the zebra, makes sense.
Yep.
Guillermo del Toro, the bull, makes sense. Toro, bull, got it. What does Kit Harington have to do with a skunk?
I don't know. What are pet skunks called? Or baby skunks called?
Are they maybe kits?
I don't know.
That feels like a stretch.
I googled baby skunks. Oh, I accidentally googled baby skunks for sale. I don't want that.
No.
It's called a kit.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so that makes sense.
So
Kit Harington. And then they also had like food trucks there, and you could pet the animals and feed them, and they gave out lots of free samples of dog food and treats. So,
all right. Well, I retract my statement on the zebra, but
the coyotes, those scraggly coyotes, I do have to question.
Coyote is doing there. That's not a good petting zoo animal.
Oh man. Remind me to show you my picture with Kit Harington.
Yes, please. Please post it on our Twitter after this episode goes live.
Yeah, remind me in like 3 months
when
this episode goes live.
Right. Did you have anything else about this book that you cared about?
I don't think so. I mean, we kind of, all of my issues with it were definitely just like plot related, like just things that were shoehorned in and didn't feel fleshed out to me in a way that was satisfying for a book. Like you said, like if this were a movie, I can be a little more lenient. Like, oh, it's probably that loner kid we saw in those 4 scenes that, you know, he was kind of lurking. Maybe he's the killer. I could buy that a little bit easier. But for a book that is nearly 300 pages long, there could have been less kissing and more...
Or alternatively, a lot more kissing and less dismemberment.
Yeah,
one or the other.
That would have worked. Yeah. And for me, like, I guess my impression of this book, not knowing a lot about it, I thought There's Someone Inside Your House was going to be like a stranger situation where they're all stuck in a house being chased by someone. Yeah. And so I thought, like, you know, it'd be a little bit
like
more intimate.
One house, not
as opposed to
a lot of houses and a grocery store and a stable.
Yeah.
And a locker room.
Yeah. So the whole title, There's Someone Inside Your House, I guess
didn't apply to about half of the murders.
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of talked, I think my silver lining is this book didn't suck too bad.
Yeah. The silver lining was that it was readable and fast and entertaining.
And I was interested in the 2 plot lines, but again, just not together. I was interested in the murder stuff. I was interested in the making out stuff. I didn't want murders and making out. was too much.
Yeah. I think my silver lining was kind of Makani's attitude towards people asking her ethnicity.
Yeah.
Because that's a question I also get quite a bit. And really fucking pisses me off every time I get it. Is the, where are you from? Or what are you?
Which I think, I will say, I liked that was brought up. I think it
Me
did
too.
undercut it a little bit that she said, oh, Makani hated when people asked that question. The answer was that she was half African American and half Native Hawaiian. I'm like, again, you're over explaining. We know she's half African American because you've said her grandma is black, and we know she's half Native Hawaiian because
she lives there.
She lives in Hawaii and her name is Native Hawaiian. Like, her full name is very Native Hawaiian. Like, we can connect those dots. We got it. You didn't mean to tell us that. And it also undercuts the thing you just said about it being annoying when people need to know the specifics.
I agree. Yeah. I liked it. And I guess, like, I appreciated the effort. And Makani explaining why she had a problem with this one girl because the girl you kept asking her about it and then made a comment like, oh, so you're like a mutt or whatever it was she said. And
I think she did a very good job in general of having minority characters.
Yeah, it's very inclusive.
Yeah, because Darby was also trans, and that was discussed a little bit, but it wasn't overwhelming. So, and Rodrigo was Latino, and like all this other stuff. So I think that, like, even though it would be very easy in a small town to just make everybody straight and white, like, I did appreciate that she did include minorities, and they were realistic in kind of the microaggressions that they had to deal with.
Yeah, I agree.
So that was good. Did you have a book that you would have rather read? Or should we talk about who we
should talk about who we
most
connect
are
with.
like first?
Yeah. And this book was a little difficult because, like we've been saying, everyone was pretty bland. But I think for me, the character I most identified with was Alex, because I feel like I was very much like her when I was that age, which is just kind of like the loud, abrasive girl that's a little bit alternative.
To clarify for those who are keeping that spreadsheet going, Alex, again, is the friend of Makani and Darby who is murdered at the very end.
I also have gone through that where my head was almost separated from my body. But no, like I think like a lot of the stuff, like her inability to be vulnerable with her friends and just wanting to make jokes instead of like apologizing for being kind of shitty. And
you know what I just realized?
What's that?
We didn't say what Ollie's deep dark secret was.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay, Ollie's deep dark secret was his parents died in a drunk driving accident. They weren't drunk driving. They were hit by a drunk driver, and they both died. And Ollie went through a hard time, and so he turned to... It was described as a place where you could buy anything as long as it was, like, drugs or sex. So some kind of brothel or drug den of some sort where he kind of fell in love with a 23-year-old woman and had a lot of sex with her when he was 16 until his brother found out.
And then
he stopped.
He said that they couldn't see each other anymore, and then Ollie tried to kill himself.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He was going to walk into the 1 foot deep water.
Yeah.
And drown himself. Which, I mean, you can drown in just a little tiny bit of water, but, you know.
Seems like there are... I was gonna say seems like there are better ways, but I don't want to be like...
Yeah, don't be that person.
Yeah, but obviously very sad situation for Ollie, but also... But I think it kind of... I was gonna say not worth all of the angst, but I don't think he was angsting about it very much. I think Makani was more angsting about what his secret could possibly be.
Yeah, like he really didn't give a shit about what people thought about him.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm getting out of here once I'm old enough and ready to, and fuck everyone else. Like he totally seemed to be not at ease, but accepting of being the outcast in a small town. Like it wasn't a thing. So anyway, that was his deep dark secret. Sorry to keep you waiting. So what character did you relate to then?
I know I just called her that horse girl, but probably the horse girl. I was not a horse girl in school, so I didn't relate to her on that level, but she is a
But
Tamora Pierce fan
yes.
because she named her horse after a horse in a Tamora Pierce book. And as you may know, if you've listened to this podcast before, I'm a big Tamora Pierce fan.
Yep.
And also, she was good at stabbing people with a pitchfork when they attacked her, which I would like to believe that I would be.
Yeah, like you definitely wouldn't have like just gasped and dropped what you were holding
Yeah.
and then been stabbed. You would have fought back.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, so probably Rosemary.
Yeah, I liked her the most out of all the victims.
Yeah. All right, so rather be reading. What would you pick?
Oh, okay. I don't know if you're also going to pick this one,
I feel like I am.
The third book in the Illuminae series comes out tomorrow.
That wasn't what I was going to pick.
Yes, it's supposed to arrive to my house tomorrow because I pre-ordered it like 7 months ago.
I'm gonna steal it while you're at work and read it.
Don't you dare! I'm gonna call the front office and be like, "Do not give up my book to this crazy girl." It is called Obsidio.
I think
Obsidio. Yeah. But basically, this is, if you don't know, a series of young adult science fiction novels that are written in a mixed media format, meaning there aren't very many passages that are written in a narrative form. So we get a lot of like chat transcripts, transcripts of things that are happening in videos, journal entries, that kind of thing.
And it's also so scary sometimes in a way this book was not.
Yes, I really did get the chills reading both Illuminae is the first book, and then the second book is called
Gemina.
Gemina, yes. Yeah, Gemina with those wormy things.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So creepy.
Oof. Yeah. So anyway, these books are real good. They are about teens that are fighting against a corporation who's doing shady biological testing.
Yeah.
And they want to reveal the secrets of this company. And I'm assuming, like, from the timeline of the book, they already have, or they've been successful in doing that. It's just like the telling of.
Yes.
Like, when you say, it's just like the telling of how it happened. Like the presentation of court documents, basically.
But that's an excellent pick.
Yes, and I'm so excited to read it. I might not even talk to you while you're here tomorrow. I might just read the book.
I mean, I don't blame you. I'll read over your shoulder. It's fine.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, what would you rather be reading?
I'm going to say I would rather be, we've talked about it a few times already, I'd rather be rereading Anna and the French Kiss.
Oh, yes.
Because it's so good. It's
just so happy.
Good. It's such a
and
happy
I know
book.
It's unrealistic, and I know that they got some weird stuff going on with, like, cheating.
Right. But it's like a story by this same author about a girl who goes to school abroad in France, and she meets a cute boy, and they have some drama, and they have some making out. And it's great and fun and light and fluffy, and really, really enjoyable, and not like this.
Yeah, no.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. I'm just like, this is a swing and a miss for Stephanie Perkins, but I certainly am not going to write her off.
Oh, yeah, no. If she was like, well, all right, guys, I'm backtracking, and I'm going to write another cute, fluffy novel.
Or even,
I'd be like, pre-ordered.
Even if she was like, I'm going to write a scary book, but it's actually going to be scary this time, and I'm not doing the kissing stuff.
No romance.
I would be on board for that.
Yeah, I'd give that a shot, probably.
But this was not.
It was trying to do too much.
It was trying to do
little
too much.
Space.
Because this was only like 200 some pages long. Also.
Yeah, which I'm like, dude, you're Stephanie Perkins. We would have read a longer book.
Right, come on, girl, we believe in you.
Like, you've written longer books. We've read them already.
Yeah, but
she writes a really fast-paced book too.
Stephanie Perkins. On the off chance you happen to hear this, I still love you. I think your books are great.
Yes, we do.
This was just not good. For me.
Yeah, this one wasn't my favorite, but there are plenty of people who did like it a lot, so, you're doing something for someone.
Right, so, All right, that brings us to next fortnight's challenge.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a really hard time picking this one, so I kind of went to an idea that I'd had before, and we've kind of discussed, and I don't think you've read it, but if you have, I'll have to pick something else real quick.
What if I just said I've read it then?
Well, then.
No, I'm just kidding.
I have not read this. I have seen the movie adaptation of it.
Okay, so there is a chance I could just watch a movie instead of reading this book. Good to know.
Good to know. And this is the first book in the Me Before You series, Me Before You.
No!
by Jojo
I
Moyes.
hate this already. I don't want to read it. No. I've been avoiding this book so hardcore. Not even joking.
So we're going to read it. Sorry.
Fuck my life.
I feel bad about this one, but I couldn't come up with a different... I was on a tight schedule.
No, it's totally fair. It's totally fair.
So I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis.
For those of you
who don't know what this is.
Okay, here it is. Ableism.
Yeah. All right. Louisa Clark is an ordinary young woman living an exceedingly ordinary life. Steady boyfriend, close family, who has never been further afield than their tiny village. She takes a badly needed job working for ex-master of the universe, Will Traynor, who is wheelchair-bound after an accident. Will has always lived a huge life, big deals, extreme sports, worldwide travel, and now he's pretty sure he cannot live the way he is. Will is acerbic, moody, bossy, but Lou refuses to treat him with kid gloves, and soon his happiness means more to her than she expected. When she learns that Will has shocking plans of his own, she sets out to show him that life is still worth living. So yeah, that'll be the next one. I
don't want to read that.
I regret it already. It is what it is. It's what we're doing.
Because one, I heavily dislike sad things. I go out of my way to avoid anything that is sad in my life. Two, I've only heard awful things about this book from people that I trust. Yes, it is a highly rated novel on Goodreads. Yes, it had a movie made about it. Yes, it's a bestseller, whatever, and ever. But a lot of shitty books have been made into movies and made to be bestsellers. That is not something that makes me feel any better about this. I am upset, but I will do my best. I will do my best.
Yep. So
God, all these reviews are like, I cried. Great. I don't want to be in touch with my emotions. This is stupid.
No, it's not fun.
Maybe I'll just get the audiobook and listen to it on times 2.
Go.
So I don't have to go. Well, at least we'll have a lot to discuss.
Yeah. All right. So that pretty much wraps it up for this fortnight.
We did have another listener mail.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, from a couple. I think he sent it after our last episode aired, so it's been sitting in the box for a while. But this is, of course, from number one fan of the podcast, Michael Barger, PhD.
Listen, if you guys don't want to listen to us read emails from Anna's husband anymore, you guys need to write in.
Please do me this favor. Too much attention is a bad thing for him. He wrote in to verify some facts that we were talking about in the Annie's Baby episode. So I'll go ahead and read this whole paragraph in his voice. I just listened to the Annie's Baby episode. Hilarious as always. It also got me thinking about the statistics around teen pregnancy as opposed to births out of wedlock. The data seems to suggest that Emily's instincts were correct. Teen pregnancy has declined fairly consistently ever since the 50s, aka the era of Beatrice Sparks' favorite pop songs. This is also true during the 90s when the book was published. Keep doing what you're doing. And then he includes a link to the data. Sincerely, someone who tries not to distort statistics for his own purposes.
Oh, that was a really good impression.
Did that sound just like him?
No.
Oh, no.
That sounded like a character from the Muppets.
Well, isn't that what he is? I don't understand.
Maybe. Maybe. The research is not in on that yet.
Yeah. He's definitely like the little rat from Muppets. What is that? What is
Oh, I was going to say he's Professor Honeydew.
More of a beaker.
You're rude. Rizzo the rat is who you're thinking
Rizzo
of.
the rat is who I was thinking of. Yeah, he's like a kind of scrappy little guy.
Wow.
So, yeah, if you would like us to read your thoughts in a totally normal voice that we wouldn't mock at all, please write it.
Email us. Also, if you know how quickly you can cut through a human skull with a knife, hit us up. Let us know. You can tweet at us.
Carefully.
Yeah, carefully.
We're easily spooked.
Approach with your hand out first. Let us sniff your hand.
Yes.
You can tweet that, your hand, and your information to us.
Just a picture of your outstretched hand.
Outstretched hand, so we can
maybe
sniff
like
it.
with some candy in it. Yep.
Tweet at us at HateReadcast.
Mm-hmm.
You can also email us hatereadcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on wherever you are currently listening to this podcast.
And also thank you to Ben Cope for the use of our wonderful theme song. We love it. In the words of Stephanie Perkins, Osborne smelled like diesel, tasted like despair, and was surrounded by an ocean of corn. Stupid corn. From everything else Makani has like described herself as in this book, it's like she used to be a very confident youth before the
Fire Nation attacked.
Yeah. That's the kind of high quality entertainment you're gonna get from our podcast. This Avatar: The Last Airbender quotes.
All right, so
is cabbages still cool to reference?